Welcome to the video. Child abuse is not restricted to grooming gangs. The police are finding themselves in hot water in relation to a child abuse video. This is of course talking about Met Police's Superintendent Robin Williams, who was sacked yesterday, though, to be honest, that's not really what should have happened, is it? Now this article was brought to my attention by a YouTube video on the channel Rotten Politics, because lo and behold, finding anything important on the BBC website is a gold mine, where you will be lucky if you find stories buried underneath their endless nonsense, much like the current human malware situation that is going on. Who knows how many important stories that has buried over the last couple of weeks. But like I said, the Rotten Politics channel brought this to my attention with a video on it yesterday, and I felt the need that I had to cover it myself. Now the BBC article headlines, Met Police sack Superintendent Robin Williams over child abuse video. And there is Robin Williams there, Superintendent of the Met Police, with a 36-year police career. One of the UK's most senior black female police officers has been sacked after her conviction for possessing a video clip of child abuse. Now, you see there, I don't know why the BBC feels the need to point out she is one of the UK's most senior black female police officers. She should have just been called one of the most senior police officers. Her gender or her race are kind of irrelevant. But no doubt the BBC are considering this sacking and her conviction, as it says there, a form of racism. We know what they're like, let's be honest. Superintendent Robin Williams was ruled by Metropolitan Police Assistant Commissioner Helen Ball to have committed gross misconduct. I'd say gross misconduct is one way of putting it. If anyone else was possessing a video clip of child abuse, I'm sure they would be arrested and convicted. At a fast-track misconduct hearing, Miss Ball said Williams' failure to report the matter was very grave. Yeah, I'd say it's very grave, and questions need to be asked about why it wasn't reported and why she held on to it. She pointed to Williams' lack of truthfulness and judgment. Well, I'd say that's definitely something to point out. A police officer that high up as well, Superintendent of the Met Police, lack of truthfulness and judgment definitely means she should be sacked. But my question is, why does she need to be sacked now? Why wasn't she sacked when she was convicted? That's my question. Why wasn't she put in prison? Is another question that needs to be asked. The superintendent was found guilty in November of having footage of child sexual abuse on her phone. At her trial, Williams said she had not viewed the 54-second video, which was sent by her sister, and did not know it was on her phone. Now, questions need to be asked. Why your sister is sending you, as the superintendent of the Metropolitan Police Service, child sexual abuse videos. It's kind of strange, and maybe you both should be put in prison for that. You for not reporting it and keeping it on your phone, and her for sending it to you. She's distributing images of child pornography. Why has your sister not been arrested? Now, she might have been, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't seem she has. But Miss Ball said that Williams' conduct amounted to discreditable behaviour, likely to undermine public confidence, and was not a trivial lapse. No, possessing child pornography is never a trivial lapse, and it shouldn't be considered discreditable behaviour. It should be considered criminal behaviour, and they should do years in prison for it. It really annoys me that the UK justice system is so lenient on these types of scumbags. The Assistant Commissioner said her failure to report the matter could have caused significant further harm to the child. Well, that's kind of obvious, and a superintendent of the police should know that. She said it was entirely unacceptable for police officers responsible for enforcing the law to break it themselves. Well, that's kind of obvious. Miss Ball added that racial bias had played no part in her decision, although the Metropolitan Black Police Association argues Williams has been unfairly targeted because she is black and accuses the force of institutional racism. Am I hearing that right? What is actually going on in the world today with nonsense like that? She has been found guilty back in November of possessing child pornography, or sexual abuse as they put it, on her mobile phone, which was sent to her by her sister. That's got nothing to do with race, that's literally down to her actions. The same procedure should apply regardless of race. And to be honest, I would like to know why it's took so long for them to sack her. She was found guilty in November. That should be an instant dismissal from the police service. You would think, wouldn't you? Surely you can't have someone convicted of possessing child pornography as a police officer, especially a high-ranking one. In a statement, the association said the decision to sack Williams was outrageous. No, your statement is outrageous. Convicted of possessing child sexual abuse videos on her phone, like I've said, should mean instant dismissal, if you ask me. I always assumed, as a police officer, you couldn't be convicted of a crime. Surely, it's a bit hypocritical you being a criminal yourself, while being the moral authority over other criminals. There are guidelines that allow for discretion. However, Robin was not afforded this privilege from the start to finish of the process, it added. Despite the unprecedented and overwhelming expression of support from colleagues, communities of London and beyond, calling for Robin to continue to serve London, their voices were ignored. Yeah, because if most of the population knew about this at the time, even London wouldn't have agreed with this ridiculous nonsense that these people are trying to claim, like she should have stayed on in her role. Please be real, this is just incredible. Convicted of possessing child sexual abuse images or videos on her phone, and should maintain her job as a leading police officer. Hell no. Never. Williams' friends and supporters who were following the hearing on monitors in a separate room gasped as the decision was read out. One of them started applauding sarcastically. Yeah, well, maybe she should report child sexual abuse images sent to her by her sister so she can keep her job, if that's what yous lot all care about. Personally, I would like to know why she's not been put in prison. And let me tell you now, that's got nothing to do with her race. That's simply because of the action she has taken. Or, should we say in this case, the inaction. During Williams' trial, Judge Richard Marks QC said she made a grave error of judgment in failing to report the video after it was sent to her. No, she made a judgment that she thought was correct. That was, of course, protecting her sister, who had sent her the images. This police officer would have known that her sister sending those images is against the law. She would have to report it. She chose not to. Therefore, she deserves everything she gets, and more if you ask me. Personally, I think she should be put in prison along with her sister. The same as I would expect that treatment of absolutely anyone, regardless of race, religion, or anything else. The superintendent, who has been a police officer for 36 years, was ordered to do unpaid work in the community and register as a sex offender, even though the court accepted there was no sexual element to her offending. It doesn't matter if there's a sexual element to her offending. At the end of the day, she tried to cover up that her sister was sending child pornography, which, as I've said, in any other case, would result in a prison sentence, and rightly so. I would expect no less for anyone. It doesn't matter if there's a sexual element to it. If someone sends you child pornography, the common sense thing to do, especially as a police officer, would be to report it. And if you really didn't want to report it because you didn't want to get someone in trouble, then at least delete it, you complete idiot. Gerard Boyle QC for Williams told the special misconduct hearing that she had spent her entire police career since the age of 18 acting on behalf of victims of crime and abuse, and that she was appalled by such abuse imagery. Why didn't you report it then? He added that she was accused of one allegation, of one breach, of one paragraph of professional standard behaviour. Mr. Boyle told the hearing his client poses no risk to anyone, let alone children or young people. No, she likely doesn't, but the law is the law, and I agree that the police should boot her out for this. I think she should be put in prison, so never mind booting her out now. Personally, I assumed being convicted of a crime would mean you would be kicked out of the police force instantly anyway. But shows what I know. And it finishes up there with Williams has lodged an appeal against her conviction, but judges have not yet decided whether to grant approval for the case to be heard. So she is trying to appeal it, though I don't see how she would be able to swing that into any other judgment. And while I feel I need to point out this woman is not a sexual predator or anything like that, she has still broken the law and put children in danger, therefore deserves to lose her job, and like I said, should actually go to prison for it. Now once again, I do want to thank the Rotten Politics channel for bringing this to my attention, as I had not seen the story personally myself, and it's a very important story to cover. The police are supposed to be there to protect us, especially children, not allowing their sister to send child pornography to them, or child sexual abuse as it was called in this article. Now before I go, I've started doing live streams and uploading gaming content on my second channel. If you would like to come and join me for a live stream to chat in real time, have an interest in gaming related content on YouTube, or just want to follow me over there because you are a legend, The link will be down in the video description below and as a pinned comment. I hope to see you all there. Now, as always, before I go, I want to thank our PayPal, Patreon, Subscribestar and YouTube members for supporting the channel, along with everyone who watches my videos. Remember to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Leave a like, subscribe with the notification bell and share this video as it helps the channel a lot. And I will see you all in the next one.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors. Slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires. And that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going and we are glad to be going. We're off.